As president-elect, before I take office on January 20th, I'll have that war settled. Between Putin and Zelensky, I will get it settled, and I'll get it settled fast.
Господин Трамп заявляет о том, что он готов и хочет остановить войну на Украине. Мы к этому относимся вполне серьезно.
It looks like World War III could be canceled if former President Donald Trump is elected, as we take this quite seriously, says Russian President Vladimir Putin on Trump's comments on ending the war in Ukraine. Trump had said during the debate with President Joe Biden last week that if elected, that he would have the conflict settled before he took office in January of 2025. Now, do you believe this? Well, take a look at the headlines. It looks like Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Zelensky both believe so. Zelensky tells Trump, if you have a plan to end the war, tell us now. Now, how is this possible? Well, the reality is that this is a military war between Ukraine and Russia, but even more than that, this is actually an economic financial war between the United States and China. And this is no secret. The United States has sent hundreds of billions of dollars to support the war in Ukraine. Just 2 days ago, the United States announced an additional $2.3 billion of military aid package going to Ukraine. But the same is true for Russia. Russia is the #1 nuclear power in the world, but it is by no means an economic power, as China can end Russia's war in Ukraine with a single phone call, says Finland. This coming out from the Japanese Times. It is no secret that both of these nations need financial backing. They're receiving it. All we would need to do is broker a deal between the United States and Xi Jinping to shut off the financial spigots to fund the wars from both sides, and within a couple of weeks, there would need to be an agreement. This has actually been vocalized already by Russian President Vladimir Putin, and many believe that this is exactly what former President Trump is planning, a business deal to end the finances supporting war. Now, I'm going to dive into all the details for you, and the articles are linked in the description so you can go ahead and see it for yourself. And in addition to that, if you want to get the jump on finances as well, stick around. I got a video sponsor that's going to be helping you out with that, but more on that later on in the video. But let's go ahead and dive right into the video footage and articles. But before we do me a quick favor. If you appreciate the updates, don't forget, take a quick second, hit that like button for me, subscribe to stay up to date. It's totally free. Why not? And with that being said, though, let's go ahead and get into how former President Donald Trump could be brokering a peace deal to end World War III and the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. But first, let's talk about a massive opportunity that's coming right around the corner, as on April 19th of 2024, the Bitcoin halving cycle took place. Now, this happens every 4 years, and we see the same sort of pattern that unfolds. Roughly about 6 months after, we will see the value of Bitcoin go up substantially. Now, right now, the value of Bitcoin is roughly about $59,000, which means that within the coming months, we could see it go up. If history repeats itself, some are estimating to as high as $300,000 per coin. Now, if you want to capitalize on this potential opportunity that's coming right around the corner, well, there's an innovative company that's putting a new spin on an old investment account, and that company is iTrust Capital. iTrust Capital is the #1 crypto IRA retirement platform. Simply put, this innovative solution allows you to invest in cryptos through a retirement account, including a Roth IRA, giving you a tax shelter effect. So if you want to invest in Bitcoin or crypto for the long haul and also want to avoid some monster taxes, well, use my link in the description below and check out iTrust Capital.
We're a failing nation right now. We're a seriously failing nation. And we're a failing nation because of him. And we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III, and he's driving us there. As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, a president that knew, that was respected by Putin, he would have never invaded Ukraine. A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, that when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence, that he should have fired those generals, like I fired the one that you mentioned, and so he's got no love lost. But he should have fired those generals. No general got fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, where we left billions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers, and 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind, too. We left American citizens behind. When Putin saw that, he said, you know what? I think we're going to go in and maybe take this was his dream. I talked to him about it, his dream. The difference is he never would have invaded Ukraine. Never. just like Israel would have never been invaded in a million years by Hamas. You know why? Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything, no money for terror. That's why you had no terror at all during my administration. This place, the whole world is blowing up under him.
To my original question, which is, are Putin's terms acceptable to you? Keeping the territory in Ukraine?
Acceptable. No, they're not acceptable. But look, this is a war that never should have started. If we had a leader in this war, he led everybody along. He's given $200 billion now or more to Ukraine. He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Every time that Zelensky comes to this country, he walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending on this war, and we shouldn't be spending, it should have never happened. I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I'll have that war settled. People being killed so needlessly, so stupidly, and I will get it settled, and I'll get it settled fast before I take office.
So there you have it. Former President Donald Trump during the debates saying that he could end the war with Russia and Ukraine by stopping the funding that is going to Ukraine. Let me know your thoughts on this. Now, in addition to that, we're also hearing that this could be done with China and their support for Russia. So it is very likely that former President Donald Trump would need to have a call with China and Xi Jinping. Now, take a look at this article, as I mentioned, from the Japanese Times. Russia's reliance right now on China has gotten to the point where Beijing could end the war in Ukraine if it chose to. Finnish President Alexander Stubbs said, Russia is so dependent on China right now, he said. One phone call from President Xi Jinping would solve this crisis. Stubbs' comment reflect the increasing frustration among Ukraine's allies over China's perceived support for Russia's war efforts. They accuse Beijing of providing the Kremlin with technologies and parts for weapons and helping Moscow to get around international trade restrictions. If he were to say it's time to start negotiating peace, Russia would be forced to do just that, Stubbs said. They would have no other choice. So hearing that, let me know your thoughts. Do you think that former President Donald Trump is going to be able to broker a deal between Ukraine and Russia, maybe hop on a phone call with Xi Jinping to turn off the financial spigots to fund this current war that a lot of people are saying could lead us to World War III? Let me know your thoughts, and do you think then we should vote for former President Donald Trump to end this war? Now, where things currently stand with Joe Biden, we're hearing that the United States is sending over more funding to Ukraine, and we are preparing for more war. And in addition to that, we're hearing that Russian President Vladimir Putin, that they're taking into consideration detonating a nuclear weapon. No threat to any nation, but just to warn the West, the United States, and NATO of their nuclear power by allowing them to see a nuclear mushroom cloud detonated by Russia. Now, to get the latest on this, be sure to check out these videos right here next as I cover it in detail. And as more comes out, though, I'll be sure to keep you up to date here on the channel. That is the latest, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.